Dear Diary, once again, I find myself recounting another tale of my life as an investigative reporter. The front page assignment had been incredibly thrilling, covering the transfer of $1 billion in gold to the U.S. Mint. It had been one of my recent bylines for the Daily Planet. Now, the story I am recounting today takes place after I had completed my investigation for this piece. I had to interview everyone involved in this incident. At the train station, guards armed with machine guns were on duty to protect the train from potential dangers, while others loaded the train with gold from an armored car. As I boarded the train, I couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and determination. Clark had wished me luck, but he had another assignment and couldn't accompany me on this one. I reassured him, telling him it was all right and that I'd see him later at the office. Clark and I were sometimes writing partners as well as rivals on occasions. It was a little game that we played. With the armored car carrying the gold leaving the station, I settled into my seat on the train, ready to write the story. The gold bars were heavily guarded by armed police officers, but I knew that wouldn't deter potential thieves. Little did I know that my instinct would prove correct. Suddenly, a parked car on the side of the road sprang to life. Men dressed in black-donned masks, and with a flick of a switch, their car transformed into an unrecognizable armored assault vehicle. They were known as the 5 o'clock Shadow Gang. There were 5 brothers in all, quintuplets, and they all looked identical. They started to pursue the train to steal the precious cargo. As the train picked up speed, I typed away on my typewriter, documenting the unfolding events. Meanwhile, the red transforming car began to catch up to the train, and from the road they got close enough to the train to jump out onto it, and 2 of them boarded it. One of them pulled a switch that released the hitch that latched the other cars behind it, which were full of armed guards. The guards attempted to fire at them, but they were too far away, as they were no longer hitched to the rest of the train and had no engine to catch up. Now totally defenseless, the hijackers headed for the gold. The 2 thieves made their way to the engine at the front of the train, where the engineer and a guard were. They attacked them, and in the process, one of the thieves and the engineer fell off the train, and the other one was locked in combat with the armed guard who, due to the struggle, was unable to aim his machine gun at the thief. The noise alerted me that there was some kind of trouble going on, so I rushed to the engine car to find out what was happening. The fight raged on. Locked in armed combat, they both fell and perished below. I climbed over the coal car, only to find the engine unattended and pulled the brake, only to be met with gunfire from the thieves in the armored car. Thinking quickly, I grabbed the machine gun that had been dropped by the fallen guard and without hesitation, returned fire. Let me tell you, my dear diary, I unleashed hell on their ass. My expert-level marksmanship came into play. My adrenaline pumped as I tried to fend off the attackers. However, the bullets bounced harmlessly off their armored car. As the train reached another station, the urgency of the situation became apparent when it failed to stop. A signalman tried to warn us by waving a red lantern, but the train continued to speed by. The man with the lantern alerted the bridge station in Morse code just in time for the bridge to lower, avoiding a terrible disaster. In the engine car, I frantically tried my best to alert people on the rail of the oncoming runaway train. I took over as the conductor of the train to avoid what could become a terrible disaster. Another message reached the Daily Planet. $1 billion limited running wild.
This looks like a job for Superman.
The gangsters were relentless in their pursuit, resorting to dangerous tactics like turning a switch to derail the train onto a sidetrack. Somehow, Superman was alerted, and Superman's quick thinking and superhuman abilities prevented another major disaster.
Superman!
Superman jumped on top of the train and raced towards the engine. As the train entered a tunnel, he leaped over the hill to meet it on the other side. I tried my best to pull the brake and stop the train. The remaining 3 of the 5 o'clock Shadow Gang were relentless in their pursuit, planted dynamite and blew up a bridge, causing the train to fall. But Superman's swift action prevented disaster as he caught the train and placed it back on the tracks. However, the villains weren't done yet. They threw a small bomb on the engine, and though Superman couldn't catch it in time, he managed to save me before it exploded. The situation intensified as the boxcars behind the engine began to fall backward downhill. Superman flew after the train and used his incredible strength to pull it back uphill, defying the thieves' attempts to hinder him with gunfire and tear gas. It was fascinating to see the limits of Superman's power in this moment. While bullets harmlessly bounced off him, the tear gas momentarily affected him, reminding me that even Superman needed to breathe. It was a humbling reminder that he wasn't totally invincible, but his determination and strength were awe-inspiring nonetheless. Again, I noticed no bullet holes on his suit. Makes me wonder what kind of material it's made of. These guys were no rocket scientists. I couldn't understand their endgame. Superman used his extraordinary strength to pull the train forward, bringing it to its destination with the precious gold intact. Back at the Daily Planet office, I shared my thoughts with Clark about wanting to thank Superman. His knowing smile seemed to hint at a deeper understanding of our caped hero. As for the 5 o'clock Shadow Gang, 2 of them perished during the caper. These guys were a few beers short of a 6-pack. They were as smart as a bag of rocks, proof that evolution can go in reverse. Which reminds me, a wise man's mother used to say, "Stupid is as stupid does," which made her a wise woman. Until next time, my dear diary. Yours, Lois Lane.